Hey, YouTube. I'm actually getting really good at this. So hopefully you guys can hear me. Can you hear? I hope you guys can hear me. Hopefully. Well, I'm going to move on and carry on, and hopefully you guys can hear me. So let's do the YouTube or the Facebook. All right, we got Facebook Live up and running. Live video is starting on Facebook. All right, I'm live on Facebook. I'm live on here. Let me share my screen. All right, I'm not seeing where my video is. I'm gonna text somebody and see if you guys can hear me. Bear with me 1 second. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I've got. I'm pretty sure I've got everything good to go. So, all right, guys, it's your buddy, it's your friend, it's your mentor, Larry. I'm jumping in on Facebook Live. I'm here on YouTube Live. Want to kind of go over some things here that we need to discuss because you guys are interested in real estate investing, and I'm trying to get everybody across the finish line to get their first property. And when you get your first property, one of the things you're going to find out is everybody thinks that the only way you make money in real estate is by getting cash flow from the property, and that's just not the case. So I'm trying to help you guys learn what to do and how to maximize the profit that you receive from your rental properties, because it's all about how much money you maintain, it's about how much money you keep, and you have to know where the money is coming from. So that's something that a lot of people don't realize. Um, we've got so many options in real estate, but the three ways that I'm actually interested in talking about right now today is through cash flow, which is what everybody just assumes when you see properties. That's what you're thinking is cash flow is monthly rent. That's the difference between your expenses and how much money you make from income. So you take your income and your expenses, and you basically it's a situation where you take the income and subtract the expensive, and the money is the cash flow that you're making. So that being said, let's jump into this a little bit deeper because I've got a lot of things going on. I want to adjust my camera a little bit. There's my, whoops, wrong way. My play button's back on the wall. It's looking pretty lonely, so I'm trying to get the gold one right next to it. There's some definite challenges to being 55 and being on YouTube and Facebook Live, because you never know what's going to happen, because I'm not a tech person, so you could have some glitches that we're going through. I have all the knowledge, but the tech is just something that I'm a little down on. I may have to close my blinds. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to close my blind because there we go. That's a little better. I don't want anybody getting blinded by this. So the main way that people think that they make profit from rental properties is through the cash flow, actually the monthly rentals, and that is true. That is a very powerful force. But there's more ways to make money in real estate because it's a multifaceted investment vehicle. Okay, the second way that I like to utilize is through equity growth. Okay, you buy a property for say $100,000 and you put $20,000 down, so you got an equity of $20,000 profit. or equity in the property. Um, Equity growth happens as you're making payments on the property and you're making improvements. The appraisal on the property has a tendency to increase, goes up. So your equity builds while you're doing real estate. You're getting more. You're getting richer. You're getting more equity in the property, and that's a valuable asset that you can tap later on. Okay, and I'm looking at my subscribers here that are coming in, and I don't see anybody joining my live on either this or Facebook, but that's fine because this is going to be uploaded, and hopefully you guys will be able to rewatch this and get some meaningful takeaways from it. So and then the third way that I want to discuss is the tax advantages. And there's a lot to be said in the tax advantages because most people don't realize that this is actually making you money because people see all tax advantages. You're going to save yourself some taxes, but any dollar you save in taxes is a dollar that you have available to spend. It's a dollar that Uncle Sam is not going to get to spend hit on his needs, and it's a dollar you get to keep to spend on yours. So that being said, let's carry on with the discussion. Excuse me, sorry about that. Okay, so let's start with the first one, cash flow. All right, this is basically your rents that you collect every month. That's going to be your gross rents, which I did the underwriting on the 3 unit that we have in Seneca Falls last week, so you know what the gross rents are. You subtract your vacancy out, that's rents that you're not going to collect, and then you subtract out your operating expenses, taxes, insurance, repairs, utilities, management, that sort of thing, the debt service for your mortgage. You get all that subtracted out. This is what I taught you how to do last week. If you missed it, put down in the comments that you missed last week's episode, then go rewatch it and see how we did the underwriting, because that's also a very powerful thing to do is the underwriting. You have to get your numbers down cold. Okay. Also put on in the comments here. Let me know what your biggest challenge, if you've tried underwriting a property or two, what is the biggest challenge that you've run into with underwriting? And I'd like to address that on a future YouTube episode, because I need to know what my students are doing and what you guys are having a hard time with, because you have to know that I'm here for you. And I answer every comment. I read every single comment. I spend a lot of time during the day reading comments. So when you get your net cash flow, that's what you have available to spend. Okay. You've got your net cash flow. That's the profit that they're talking about with cash flow, is the money you have after all your expenses is paid. And that's a very big income stream. I'm not going to lie to you. But it could be bigger. There's a couple of different things that you can do to improve your cash flow in that area. Okay. You have to evaluate the entire property. When you first take over a property, you have to look at the in-place cash, the in-place rents. Okay. And your in-place rents are what you need to look at, because they're generally, we're buying from burnout landlords, mom and pops. So they haven't raised the rents in a considerable amount of time. So you have to find out if the market rent is what they're paying, or if you have room for raising the rents. So there's a couple of different ways you can increase your income. You can raise rents or decrease in expenses. And we're going to talk about that. One of the most powerful tools that you have is that market rent, comparables in the area. You have everything available to you that you need to find out what your other people in this area are paying for rents. And you need to make sure that those rent areas are where you have to be in order to. And that being said, it's a, and I'm hoping everybody can hear me. I haven't been able to get any feedback yet. So hopefully you guys can hear me on YouTube and on Facebook, but we'll carry on. So you've got your rent increase. If you can take a rent that, say, somebody is paying $7 a month for rent, we'll use that as a term. And a lot of times in rent in their area is getting $1,000. You can raise that rent up from $700 to $1,000 $300 to your bottom line, because you're still able to cover, if you did your underwriting correctly, you're still able to cover everything that you need to do with the in-place rents. That is important, that you increase that rents. So make sure that you're always paying, your tenants are always paying market rent, because you don't want to leave cash on the table. You're trying to build a successful business, and you're trying to make a good home for your tenants. And the more money that you're able to collect based on market rents, based on keeping your expenses down, the better the property that you can provide for your tenants. That's one of the downfalls that they get into in New York City is they've got rent controls right now, and you limit what a tenant can, or a landlord can charge. That limits the amount of money they have coming in. That limits the amount of money they can put back into the property. And then they want to know in New York City why exactly rent control isn't working, because people are living in slums, because the landlords just don't have the money to fix up and do the regular maintenance and repairs. We don't just take the money for ourselves and put it in our accounts. We do maintenance on these properties, and these properties have a lot of wear and tear. You've got several hundred people living in your units, or several thousand in my case, and you have to have the money coming in to pay to get the repairs done, because things are going to happen. Drywall is going to need to be done. You're going to have an entire maintenance staff. It's not going to be something that you should be having a problem doing. Okay. So, all right. Now, the next part of that equation was you got to raise rents, and you can decrease expenses and increase the incomes from those expenses. So one of the ways that I like to do is, a lot of times, tenants, if I take over a property, tenants, or the landlord, pays the utilities. You can always turn around and transfer the utility expenses to the tenant somehow. If it's a situation where it's basically on 1 meter or something like that for the entire building, then you can do what's called a RUBS program, where it averages out the entire utilities bill and spreads it among every single lot, or every single apartment that you have. So you can actually increase their rents by the RUBS amount, and that covers all your utilities, and that's increased bottom line dollars. That's more money that you've got towards doing repairs and that sort of thing for your property. Everybody follow me on this. The two major ways for cash flow that you got control over is increasing income and decreasing expenses. That's basic math. You make more money, or you pay less money out. That's the way real estate works in that aspect of it. Also, you can go in. I've gotten properties that I've bought and taken possession of, and I've had a path to where I make decent cash on it by, possibly doing a laundry, doing a dog park, charging for parking income. The 9 unit I've got right now has a garage that has preset storage in it, and we're going to be clearing that out, because one of the tenants actually took possession of the garage, and we're going to reclaim that as soon as we take back over, and just be offering that for tenants to store their stuff, because you never have enough room for storage. It seems like, as human beings, our normal condition is that we accumulate a lot of stuff. Okay, we accumulate and accumulate and accumulate, and it's just, I just moved in January, so you don't really know how much stuff that you've accumulated until you go to move. So increasing the storage income is another thing. I'm very pet friendly also. So another income source is, if you're pet friendly and you want to allow pets to come into your property, you have to charge a pet deposit, which is non-refundable, because when the pets leave, or the people move out, you've got to go in and assess any damages, clean carpets, and do that sort of thing. So that's one way that you do. And then another way is the monthly pet rent. So you can increase your pet fees, non-refundable pet deposit, increasing your rent monthly. Like my most of my properties are $250 deposit per pet, and an extra $50 to $70 per month, depending on whether it's a dog or a cat. generally speaking, dogs, we charge a little bit less for because, and I'm not getting into the discussion, but cats seem to do a little bit more damage to properties. I don't know why. Maybe a lack of respect on the cat's part to rules and regulations. Dogs have a tendency to enjoy rules and regulations a little bit better than cats do. So that's what we do. Also, late fees. You have to charge late fees. This is an additional source of income because if somebody pays late on a property, your rent is still due on that property. You have to charge late fees because that's promoting them becoming on time, and it gets them a little bit more into um, the whole paying on time thing, which because your bank or your seller, who if you're doing owner financing, they don't want to hear excuses. They need their money on time every time. So if you've got to pay a late fee, you got to pay increased interest. You have to charge them increased interest. Okay. Oh, application fees and administration fees. So application fees, you can charge an application fee, and what that is that's money that you get to conduct a background check and vet the tenants before they move in, because tenants have a tendency to if you get the wrong tenant, they don't pay the bills, and you need to vet them, and you need to have them pay for their you have to have them pay for the background check, because you don't want to be paying for all these tenants to do a background check on these folks, because they could come at you and say, we're not paying that fee, so you have to pay it, and then you pay $50 or $75 or whatever it costs to do a background check, and you would lose money, because then it comes back that they don't pay their rent, their credit score is terrible, and they're just not going to be an all around good tenant. And you have to vet every tenant every time, vet them every time. No exemptions, no excuses. So just get that taken care of. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is the equity pay down. Okay. Equity pay down is more like on the residential. I'm going to discuss a different form of that on larger commercials. So the equity pay down is when you're paying your principal. Every month you make a payment, you pay to the interest and you pay to the principal. And that is money that if you develop 30, 40, 50% of your value in that property is equity, you can always turn around, pull that money back out, refinance it. That's profit to you. Tax, not only is that profit to you, that's a very powerful way to do it, because you can turn around and use that money to buy more properties, and you use it tax free. That's an income. So say you make, I don't know, $50,000 a year profit on a house, and you've got $200,000 in equity. You can go get a loan, a mortgage, a second mortgage, or refinance the mortgage, and pull out $200,000 in income, in value, and that is basically prepaying yourself 4 years of net income from the property. And then you can turn around and use that $200,000 today instead of waiting for the 50,000, and the $50,000 in net income will go towards paying that second mortgage down, or the refinance mortgage down. And then you can utilize that $200,000 today in order to make a profit, or in order to make more investments. So that's one way you can 10x your portfolio by doing what Gio and I call, and a lot of people call, the Burr method, and that's getting the equity and then refinancing out of it. But that requires steady occupancy. So you have to vet your people, because turnover hurts this. Turnover, if you have a lot of turnover in a property, that does not look as good to a bank to refinance you as it should. So that's one of the things that you have to try and find good tenants, because the longer a tenant stays and the more care they have for your property, the better off you're going to be. It's just, that's the only way to do it, because it's not something that you want to have continually happen. You don't want to have people keep popping back and forth, up and down. Every time you lose a tenant, that's a huge expense for a turnover. You go in, you have to clean the property. A lot of times you repaint the apartment, and so you want to promote finding good tenants. You want to promote them staying around, because that goes to making money. On one of the ways to make money is to cut down on turnovers, because turnovers are just an expense that you don't need. If you vet them properly, they should stay with you, hopefully for years and years and years. So that's the ultimate goal. The next one is appreciation. This one is very powerful. Okay. So appreciation is an increase in the value of the property. Generally speaking, overall, you had a couple of exceptions. I remember I survived the market crash, or the real estate bubble crash of 2008, where property values actually went down. But for the most part, historically speaking, property values go up because they're not making any more of it. You have a finite amount of income, or a finite amount of land. Okay. That land, they're not making anymore. So the value of the land should be increasing over time, generally speaking. Um, okay. People keep jumping in on YouTube. I'm hoping that this is going well. I got to really find out if I've got volume. So let me check with Sunny and see if I've got volume, because I don't want to go through all of this and have the volume be a problem. Okay. Let me message Sunny real quick. Sorry, guys, bear with me. Do you guys have any questions going forward? Put those in there, and I'll do the best I can to answer them. And let me get a hold of Sunny. All right, I just messaged Sonny. Hopefully, Sonny's on here, but he usually lets me know in the chat when he arrives. Sonny is my right hand man. I cannot. I mean, Giovanni and Sonny are my right hand man, but Sonny is the tech guy that I depend on a lot on the lives, because Giovanni can't always join us on these lives, and I just need to make sure that I have volume. So I was talking about appreciation being huge. So property values historically go up over time. And so when you buy a property, theoretically speaking, in 20 years, if you buy a property today for 100,000, you're hoping that the appreciation is going to go up in over time. But appreciation is also something I look at as a bonus. Okay. You can't buy a property depending and counting on appreciation, because it doesn't always happen all the time. It could go up slowly, it could go up quickly, but you have to make sure that you're looking at appreciation as if it's just a bonus payday. Because if you buy strictly on appreciation and then the appreciation doesn't show up, you're SOL, which that means something out of luck. Sometimes you're out of luck. Okay. And when you're out of luck on appreciation, if you bought specifically for appreciation, that's a bad scenario. That's a bad scenario. Okay. But that's on your regular residential. So you have residential rental properties. The appreciation is controlled by the market. Whatever this house sold for, whatever that house sold for, whatever houses around me are selling for, then it's similar to this one that I'm buying. That dictates what the appreciation is. On 5 units and more, you have one of the most powerful ways to make money in real estate that I've ever seen. Is called forced appreciation. Um, okay. And so forced appreciation, that is, you have control over the appreciation and the value of the property on a 5 unit. Oh, Sonny just messaged me. Yep, it looks like I do have volume. That's good. That's good. So my knowledge that I've been talking about for the last 24 minutes is not lost on a blank thing. I see people jumping in and jumping back out, which, Friday at 1 o'clock, I might want to try a different time, for future lives, because it's kind of difficult for in the United States. It's in the United States, it's a situation where people are still at work on Friday at 1 o'clock, and for my listeners overseas, it might be in the middle of the night for them. So I'm gonna discuss things with my team and see if there's a different time or day that I can go at it, because Friday you're at the end of the work week and nobody really wants to think about this kind of stuff for the end of the week, end of the work week. That's why it doesn't upset me when people aren't in the live, because they can always rewatch it. Okay, so forced appreciation. This means that you can actually increase the net operating income of a property, especially on a commercial property, and increase the value. So you actually have a lot of control. So everything that I've been discussing, the increasing rents, the decreasing expenses, it's all working towards having a larger commercial property. And once you get that net operating income increased, you can use the cap rate to figure out how much your increase in value is. Once you increase the value, say you do a dog park, or you have a bunch of additional pets that come in, and that increases your net operating income, because every dollar in expenses you reduce and every dollar in rent that you get extra is going to increase your net operating income, and that's going to increase the property value in a commercial property. So one, and what I'll do is, when we release this on YouTube, I'm going to put a comment in there, and I'll give you the definition of a forced appreciation. And it's one of the most powerful ways to make money in real estate. I know that the rent, they say, you guys have just assumed it was the rent, but it's not. It's the forced appreciation is huge. It's huge. So I can't express that enough. So the more properties that you buy, the bigger the property, the more you have control over how much money you make. All right. Okay. So enforced appreciation. So one of the big things is you raising the income and getting other income streams. So raise the rent, do a laundry, you get a dog park, you can get charge extra for that, charging extra for the storage and that sort of thing. And then you can reduce your expenses. Shop your insurance around. If you have insurance, I have a really great insurance guy, and I can shop insurance around. Reduce your utilities. Do the rubs. Put people on rubs. Make as many tenants pay for the utilities as possible. Do your due diligence, or do your maintenance. Maintenance expenses can be huge. If you do regular maintenance, you're gonna reduce your capex. Okay, because your capex is bigger repairs, and if you neglect your monthly or regular maintenance, then your capex is going to go crazy, and that's not good. A roof is a huge expense. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about forced appreciation. Keep going with the maintenance and try and reduce those expenses. If you have people cutting the grass and snow plowing, and you can find the same quality work for a lower dollar amount, try and do that, because that'll increase the value of your property as well. And that's something that you really gotta try and do. Is everything's about value. So say you force appreciation on a 20 unit, and the value goes up from a million to $1.5 million. Okay, you have $500,000 in equity now in that property, and all you did was raise the rents and save on expenses. And that's huge. I mean, you just created value out of thin air, basically, is what I'm talking about with forced appreciation. You raise the income of a property, and that's one of the things that is most powerful. And this is what you're doing, trying to buy your first rental property. You're going to learn these skills as you go along. You're going to be trying to figure out how to do forced appreciation, because the forced appreciation is, and I've said that like 100 times, I'm trying to get you guys to talk in terms of the actual terms that people use in real estate. And once you increase your value, you can pull that equity out and buy the next property, buy the next property, buy the next property, and do the same thing. Go in, recognize your different ways that you can increase your value of your property, and then come up with a plan before you buy the property to implement that. Okay, that's very important. Reducing it, improving your operations is another good one. So one of the things that we like to do is we like to go in and have an initial capex on properties and improve the lighting, put cameras in, just the common areas and that sort of thing, because people pay more money in rent for properties that they feel safe at. Okay. You have to feel safe where you live, and we want all of our people to feel safe. Okay. So that's one of the things is improving your operations is huge. That's a huge retention getter. So you're trying to keep the tenants happy. So when it comes time for the lease renewal, they're going to want to renew their lease, even if there's a rent increase, which you're going to want to periodically raise your rents because expenses are going up every year. The expenses of the property are going up, and if you don't raise your rents to reflect the cost of living increase in expenses, then you're going to lose money over time, which is where mom and pops are right now. Their expenses have kept going up for 15, 20 years, and they haven't raised the rents to reflect that. So you have an opportunity on a lot of these to go in and raise the rents and make the money and increase your appreciation, so your value is up there. And you have fewer turnovers. That way, you don't have to have a turnover expense. You don't have to go in and paint every 6 months or every year, because you're keeping tenants more regularly, and that's a huge amount. So another big one. So that's on commercial, and the tax advantages are on commercial are also amazing, because you've got what's called depreciation. Okay, and depreciation is you are able to take the expenses of the property and the value of the property and write it off and depreciate it, because the IRS is figuring that your property is losing value over time, and they allow you to claim that loss in value against your income and your taxes. And that's huge, because you may be making money on a property, but because of an increase in depreciation, you could be showing just a paper loss. Like you're actually making money on a property, but because of the IRS allowances on depreciation, you could actually be making money on the property. Okay. You can also do what's called a cost segregation study on a commercial property. So if you have a 20 unit commercial property, you can do a study. So what a cost segregation is, the different components of a rental property depreciated at a different rate. So you have cabinets they don't last as long as a 30-year roof. That's not going to last as long as the cabinets. You've got windows, doors, everything. You pay for a study. The people doing a professional study, you have to have it professionally done. You can't just go in and pick numbers and do that. You have to pay for the study, and usually it's anywhere from, depending on the size of the property, $2,000 to $5,000, $10,000 for the study. But what that does is it allows you to front load all of your depreciation. Instead of taking it over 27 and a half years, you get to depreciate it over 3 years, because they figure cabinets have a lower lifespan than your roof. Or you get to depreciate the carpet or the flooring over a shorter period of time. And that allows you to front end load your depreciation, which is increasing your tax advantages up front. And that saves you a lot of money on the early years of getting started out in stabilizing the property, because that's what it's all about. You're buying a property that's not necessarily run poorly, but isn't run as efficiently as you could run, because you've got more experience and you're not as burnt out as the other people. So you've got your systems in place. So you're able to run a property more efficiently than they are. And that helps you if you front load your depreciation. It helps you get more money for that stabilization. Another thing is, if you sell a property and you make a huge amount of money instead of paying capital gains, one of the ways you can make money is tax free. You can do what's called a 1031 exchange, and that's its own episode. So just know right now, I'm just giving you the information. just exposing you to the 1031 exchange, and we'll talk about that at a later date. But what that is you can take the profit from this property, roll it into a bigger property, tax exempt, and increase your equity and increase your portfolio size. Okay. So what do we do with all this? The added appreciation. I'm going to answer that really quick, and then I've got a little bit of I want to discuss something else that's going on in my own. Morning, Matt. How are you today? Matt Murphy joining. Matt's always got great questions. I love having him in our lives. So thank you for joining us. Uh, so a 1031 exchange, we're just touching on that right now. We'll go in depth into that later, but that's after you buy your first property. You need to get your first property out of the way, and that's who my YouTube channel I'm specifically talking to. I can help you buy your first and your 100th and your 150th property. The standards are the same, the methods are all the same, but right now my focus has been the newbie investor, the person that, the novice who hasn't bought a first property yet, who needs to get out of their comfort zone, who needs to get across to the finish line. Because I can tell you right now, 100%, okay, and this, you guys can take this to the bank and deposit it. Your first rental property by far is going to be your worst. It's going to be your worst. And I'm not even talking about the actual worst deal, not talking about the hardest deal. I'm talking about with the fear. Okay. It's going to be the hardest one to get through because you're scared. And you see the thing that I'm sharing my screen with. These are just some limiting beliefs that we have. These are your concerns. This is what I'm leading up to, is this whole picture right here on my screen. Am I ready? Will I make money? What if I make a mistake? Okay, you make a mistake, you deal with the mistake, and that's how you learn how to handle mistakes. Is you make a mistake or two, and that's why I'm able to sit here and share my experience with you, because I made a lot of mistakes that have cost me some money, and I learned from it. And I'm here on YouTube just trying to share my knowledge, just trying to help you guys not make the same mistakes that I've made. Where do I start? I'm also giving you the where do you start? Can you afford to do it? There's just so many questions involved with buying your first property. And like I said, the first property, that these questions right here are all the reason why the first property is your hardest, because you're in your comfort zone and you don't want to try, you don't want to get into analysis paralysis. I don't want, I don't want to get into analysis paralysis. So you guys got to get through this fear. Okay. And that's what I'm here. I'm here. If you've got somebody on your side, then I can help you get through the fear. And if you need more of a hands-on approach, I also offer a real estate investing course that you're able to, it's a very nominal fee, but it covers our expenses, and it does get you on Zoom calls with us. We can walk you through underwriting on your properties. We can do a lot to help you get your first property under contract. Okay. And, we're going to put the link for that down below, and I'm going to add the link to on all of my YouTube videos, where lots of big things are happening at Arctic Wolf Enterprises right now. And, these are some of the things that I want to discuss with you. One of the big things is our CRM program that's basically allowing me to 10x my business. It's crazy good. I can't even tell you how much I love this system. My VA team and my right hand man Sonny came to me when we first started talking and told me that he was going to be able to put my entire company online and got us a free website, got us, wrote the entire program that set up our system. So currently Sonny has developed a system where we're getting more leads than I ever thought possible on potential properties. And we can do the same for your business. This is something that we can offer you guys because it's not that difficult. We can get you set up. You guys will be full control of it. Our social media has taken off, and we control it all from one platform through our CRM program. And we control all of our social media. Excuse me. We control everything through that. Right now, the CRM cost, there's a couple of different ones. Sonny can answer that in the comments, or he can send you a DM. We set you up on a monthly program, and we get your website all taken care of. And my CRM program right now, what we do is we have contact lists that we pay for, and we have these cold calls that are being made by our AI. And this is all stuff that we can set up for your system. Okay. Um, and it doesn't matter if it's real estate or whatever you do, wholesaling, you can do buy and hold and everything. And, we set you up to where AI does the calling. And we actually have a call dialer that calls, I think it's 1,000, 1,500 phone calls at once, and everybody that it picks up talks to our AI. And guys, I've talked to the AI. It AI is getting very good. Like, I couldn't even tell that it was AI. AI discusses their properties with them, and then kicks it to the next level, and then kicks it, and then that level vets them, and then it kicks it to Sunny, who does the selling and talks to the people and discusses their program. And I think you can see that I got another lead. Sonny kind of threw it up in the chat there real quick, and then deleted it. But it's a lead that I've got to call as soon as I get done with this, because Sonny provides me with leads of people that they've already said, yes, I'm interested in selling. And then my job here, and I've got a sales team that we're increasing. We're raising the number of people on our sales team. Um, I get these leads, and I go negotiate the buying of these properties, and we can set your entire business up on something like this. I didn't know how to do any of this. I'll be honest with you, my tech is very limited. So I went and found Sonny, and Sonny was allowing me the ability to offer this to other people that I want to help. I legitimately want to help you get to where you can use this system and get your financial freedom, or whatever your goals are. You need this kind of help, and it works for more than real estate. It works for just about anything that you want to do. So, Sonny, anybody that's interested, please, in the comments, put your name, your email address, or even just your YouTube or your Facebook Live, or whatever, and we'll reach out to you, because this is a very, very powerful tool. I am literally getting hundreds and hundreds of vetted leads in a short amount of time. I've made probably 4 or 5 valid purchase offers in the last couple of days, and this is all off market deals. We're getting to the people, because, and I'm not trying to badmouth anybody, okay? But, like, if I can get a deal before real estate agents get involved, then generally speaking, that can save me a bunch of money. It can save the seller a bunch of money, because they don't have to pay the real estate fees. And then if I need to use a real estate agent later on, um, then I can use that for selling. But at this point, I've got a seller's list, I've got a buyer's list, and we're going through all of them, pre-vetting them. We're raising capital on this system. The AI is doing all the work. The AI is doing the bulk of the work, and we've got people running our social media. And this is all stuff that we can set up for you, um, hands off. And we offer 24 hours a day service, that if you need tech help, we can get you all set up on tech help. And it's for a low monthly fee. The price of setting everything up is for the first monthly fee. Your hosting fee is what we charge. We get you all set up, and then we offer everything. We set up your website for you. We do everything. Okay. So get with Sonny. Put a comment down below if you're interested. Facebook, put a comment on Facebook. Send a Facebook messenger to us. We'll get you all set up. We'll help you 10x your business. I am not even joking. This system, if you've got the ability to receive receive the leads, we can help you 10x your business. Okay. I'm probably going to get smacked around on YouTube a little bit about that, trying to, they yell at me for offering unrealistic, they call it unrealistic, they call it unrealistic returns. Okay. I'm just telling you exactly what my system did. I 10x my business. I am legitimately right now. Everybody on YouTube here knows that I'm a truck driver. So I drive truck full time, and I'm at a point right now where truck driving, I'm so busy when I'm not driving truck that when I go to drive truck, it's like, oh, I could do so much more here. Um, but I still love trucking. So, if any of my coworkers or employers are watching, I'm not planning on making that leap yet. But you know, if I blow up another 10x in this next few months, then we may have to think about it, but or hire more VAs. So, but that being said, you guys, we're talking about not leaving any money on the table. Your real estate investing career is basically all about getting as much money as you can out of your rental properties, because you want to provide good housing for people, and you need to be able to do that. Okay. So you don't want to just judge a deal by the rent minus the mortgage and minus the expenses, because you've got so many ways of underwriting, which I showed you last week. Go check out last week's video. I'm telling you, last week's video online live was fire. Okay. I I brought the goods. I brought the information. I brought the check, and you guys can deposit it, because it was amazing content last week. Okay. I walked through our amazing deal in Seneca Falls, and go look at that. I teach you how to do an underwriting on a property. So you have to look at the cash flow, the equity growth, the tax benefits, the expenses, everything. You have to take it all into account when you determine a good deal. Okay. So, and just as a side note, I wrote down a couple of mistakes that I want to try and help you avoid. Um, you know, One of the things, just underestimating repairs can be a danger. So you always want to do last week's stress test, just to make sure that you've got an accurate idea. And even if you do underestimate the expenses a little bit, you're covering yourself with that stress test, because you have to make sure that you're covered. Buying no deal is much better than buying a bad deal. It's going to cost you every month. Um, don't ignore your vacancies, and don't ignore a reserve. Okay. You have to, every property that you own, you should do a reserve. You have to have a reserve fund set aside for emergencies, for any repairs, maintenance, CapEx fund, call it whatever you want to. But some newbies, one of the biggest problems I see on novice investors is they jump into a project or a property, and they start treating it like their own personal piggy bank. They commingle funds between their rental property and their personal accounts. They use the rent money to supplement their own income, to pay their own bills, private bills, and everything. They don't build a reserve up. And then when it comes time for major repairs, they just don't have the money. And you can't do that. You want to run this like a professional business, and you have to learn how a professional business operates. And this is getting your systems in place right up front. So do not ignore your vacancy rate, and don't ignore your reserves. Don't ignore property management either. Factor that in, because you're eventually going to want to have a full-time property manager. Whether you use them right out of the gate or not, you got to calculate that. And if you factor it in, then you can step away at any time and you're covered. Okay. Um, Over leveraging, that's a big one. Okay. Um, you just want to make sure that you don't take out too much debt on the property, that the debt service coverage ratio. So if you're buying a property and the debt service coverage ratio is a 0.9, which is less than 1%, so you're not even making enough money to cover the debt. Okay, that's what over leveraging is. You need to have at least that 1.25 in debt service coverage ratio to figure that out. Because if you're having to chip in money every month out of your own paycheck to make the bills for a rental property, then that's defeating the purpose of doing, like, stop investing and just enjoy your paycheck, because that's what your whole idea, the whole reason for investing is to make money. And if you're chipping in money out of your paycheck, you're not only not making money, but you're costing yourself in your lifestyle and your living expenses. So if your debt service coverage ratio isn't at least a 1.25, walk away from the property. Okay, that's my best. And buying a property without an exit plan, um, not necessarily an exit plan as much as a refinance plan, and that's what I do. But I mean, even if you want to do an exit plan, so if you buy a property, are you going to refinance it in 5 years, pull the equity out? Are you planning on forcing the appreciation and selling it? Just know where your destination is, what your plan is before you buy a rental property. Are you using this for your monthly income so you can retire? That's important. And then take these three different methods of making money in a rental property and gear everything towards your final plan. Okay, this is your destination. Oh, I just realized you guys can't see my silver creator award. Look at that. Look at that. All right. Sorry. That was just a little bit of a Larry ego thing, but I really don't have an ego. And you can ask any of the people that work with me and for me that, I'm more of a King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table approach when it comes to that kind of thing. So just have your exit plan in mind and go from there. So one of the other things that I want you guys to do too is, if you're just jumping on this and you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please like it, please subscribe, set up the notification bells, because it's something that you guys can count on us every week to bring the value. I'm not going anywhere. I've got a lot of knowledge, and I love the sound of my own voice. Part of the problem I'm going to have is I'm not going live enough, and I would go live every day if I could and just talk about how I've made money in real estate and how you guys can make money too. So that's important to me. If you guys want, comment down below, comment checklist, and I can send you a checklist for what we discussed here today. Different ways of making money, different ways of increasing your rent, decreasing your expenses. Just throw that in down there, and we'll get that sent right over to you. And if you guys are still a little nervous and you don't feel like you're able to pull the trigger on getting your own property, hit us up. Book a call with us. Do a coaching call. Find out if our mentorship or our real estate course is something that we can help you with. It's not an expensive course. I'm not talking about 20 grand for. I mean, we do have a level that's 20,000 for more advanced if you want to get in depth, which is basically partnering with us on, whatever. But start out with the lower tier, which is a very reasonable amount. If I had a program that taught me as in depth as I'm teaching you back in the day, then I would have been probably 10, 15 years farther ahead than I am right now. I had to learn all of this myself. So anytime somebody comes along before you and they've done what you want to do and they are offering a training program, take advantage of it. I mean, book a call with us. We'll get you all set, and we'll mentor you, and you'll be getting your first property under contract. And once you see how easy buying rental properties is and the actual benefit of the rental property, it's really a no-brainer. You're going to want more properties, and just know that doing things the right way, learning from somebody who's been there, learning from an operator, and learning from my mistakes. That's where the most value is. Like, I can tell you how to do the right thing. I can tell you exactly how to do it correctly. My value is telling you how I screwed up. And that's where I'm going to provide the value to you, because I'm going to say, don't do this because that does not work. I did that 20 years ago and it cost me $5,000. Or don't do that. I did that 15 years ago. And you can run different scenarios by us on the coaching program. When you jump into a coaching program, the real estate course, we'll be available to you on weekly calls. We'll jump on a call with you, and we'll talk to you every week. And any questions you have, bring them to that call. Okay. So send a DM, Facebook, Messenger, however you want to do it. Just get a call. If you need help getting across the finish line, let us know. Your fear and your comfort zone are powerful, powerful. I've had a lot of students that have succumbed to the comfort zone. It's the comfort zone is called comfort zone for a reason. It's comfortable. You don't have to think. You don't have to work. You also don't have a huge income. Your dreams aren't able to prosper in the comfort zone. Comfort zone is where dreams go to die. That's the only way around it. So, and that's the end of it. Like, book a call with us, subscribe on YouTube, and well, Facebook, like our groups on Facebook and that sort of thing, and then comment for checklist for the checklist down below. We'll send that right over to you. Okay. All right, that's what I've got. Hopefully you guys are having a blessed day. I know we are at Arctic Wolf Enterprises. Man, our stuff going phenomenally well. The CRM program has been it's been ridiculously good at increasing our 10xing our business. It just I can't even say enough about Sonny and his team right now. And let us show you. All I'm asking is give us a try. 1 month hosting is all it's going to cost you. And then after a month, if you don't like it, we'll part ways. But I'm telling you, after a month of seeing what it can do, the second month and the third month and the 100th month is going to line right up, because you're going to be doing well on it. Okay. All right. God bless you guys. I'm going to jump over here. I feel like I should bring up a topic of discussion before I leave, because everybody seemed to enjoy the Jordan versus LeBron discussion. I don't have anything right now other than who's everybody rooting for in the World Cup. I know the World Cup was going on. I'm not a football fan or a soccer fan, if you will, but I know that a lot of people have been showing up for it's one of the famous players the last World Cups, and was it Ronaldo? It's his last World Cup, and I know a lot of people have traveled a long way, so hopefully he has a good World Cup. But other than that, you guys have a great day. I love every one of you. Just keep knowing that we care about you. We want to make sure that you get across the finish line on your first property. So, all right, Facebook. Love you guys. Guys stuck with me the whole hour. Have a great one. Talk to you later. All right, YouTube, just us now. Well, so what are we going to do? We're going to talk about the Facebook? Nah, Facebook was awesome, and YouTube is awesome, and you guys are spectacular. So, love all you guys. Have a great day, and you know, be safe out there. Okay, we want to make sure you guys all make it to the next live next week. All right, love you guys. God bless.